Today I'm making labels for my quilt pieces using shrink plastic. Today I'm going to be making some shrink plastic quilt labels for my quilts that I'm making so I can label the pattern pieces. I've used my Silhouette software and just made up a little design with all of the letters that I need for my quilt pieces. I am using this printable shrink plastic sheet. I have the glossy white, and it is a gloss on one side, super shiny, and then the other side is matte, kind of like a frosted, and you print on the frosted side. I just printed on my inkjet printer, and you do need to make sure to let these sit. I printed mine yesterday, so they sat overnight. You just don't want to try to use them right away because they will smear. It takes a little bit of time to have the ink dry. So I am going to cut them apart, and I'm just going to use my regular paper cutter. This is the one that I use for almost everything. It has a single edge razor blade, and I love it because I can get those blades at somewhere like Home Depot. And all I'm going to do is just cut these into squares. So I cut all of these little pieces apart, and I am going to keep the extras. Those can be used for hand drawing something. They won't be able to fit through my printer, but these pieces of course can still be used. So now what I decided to do is, since the little design that I just put around has kind of rounded corners, I have an old, I don't know, probably 30-year-old corner rounder. This is something that I got when scrapbooking just started, and so I'm talking like the 1990s, so it's super old. And now of course they have little small corner rounders, but I am going to use this, and in order for me to use this, I will just put my piece down, and there's guides. You just push it up and then just press down and make sure I get it straight, and then you get this rounded corner. So I'm going to do that for all of them. The shrink plastic will start to curl up while it's in the oven. You just leave it alone and it will start to flatten out again. So here are the difference between the ones that have been in the oven and the originals. So these, of course, is that plastic sheet, glossy on one side and matte on the other. And then here is the ones that I put in. I did 330 degrees. It only took a minute, if even that. The directions say 2 to 3 minutes, but once they started to flatten, pretty much flatten out, I took them out, and then I used a wood clapper that I use when I sew and press to kind of make sure that they stayed flat. So I pressed them, and then I took them off the cookie sheet onto my countertop where it was, cool, and pressed them again to make sure that they were flat. And so now you can tell, they're thicker, of course, because they shrink. And there'll be good little labels for my fabric pieces when I quilt. So I'm going to go finish the rest. So here are all of my little labels for my fabric. So you can see that I have all of my fabric that are the II pieces. I'll just clip that on with a little clip. Here's my piece Z, and I will just label all of my pieces, and then of course they're usable again, and they are just a great little addition to my sewing room. If I made them again, and I may make another set because I'm doing several different sewing projects kind of at the same time, I would probably leave them a little bit extra higher at the top. So the extra room at the top I could use for the clip. However, if you clip these, even if you clip over them, you can still see the letter.